Hello, Exiles. This is Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and welcome to another Path of Exile video. In today's video, I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Scourge League as far as just regular patch stuff, but also including things from the actual league itself. So there's a lot to talk about. One of the first things I want to talk about is something that we didn't see necessarily coming, or at least I personally didn't, and that is armor. So armor got buffed as far as like the mitigation it gives and everything, but one thing I forgot to factor in is enemies also have armor. So I've been leveling the Cyclone character, and right now I'm rocking some Prismatic Eclipses. I just hit, I threw them on at 53, so things are starting to go a little bit easier. But even with the 6-link, it hasn't always been easy leveling with Cyclone, and part of the reason for that is monsters also have armor, and that armor has been buffed as far as how it interacts. So I was running Spectral Helix before I was playing Cyclone, and Spectral Helix has a very high damage or attack damage effectiveness, whereas Cyclone has very low attack damage effectiveness and relies on hitting many times very frequently. So it became pretty obvious. I had about the same DPS when I made the swap over, that I was doing a lot less damage. Even though I had roughly the same DPS, I could really feel the damage loss switching over to Cyclone. And of course, there are plenty of ways to overwhelm physical damage, like there's the Impale overwhelm stuff. And then there's also there's more overwhelm stuff on the tree, like Bastion Breaker over here, for instance. And I'm going to have to pick up some of this physical mastery stuff. I can get 20% here and then 15% from the mastery. But without that, boy, you really feel the damage difference. And it'll get to a point where I have a certain amount of DPS where it's not going to matter, because the way armor scales is it's much less effective against larger hits, which is why Spectral Helix did more damage. But yeah, I'm just leveling up a Cyclone Raider currently, and that was a big problem. And the reason I'm leveling up a Cyclone Raider actually comes to one of my other observations from this league, and that is that the actual Scourge monsters are really, really fast. And even though I'm doing a lot of damage with my Soul Rend build and I'm feeling pretty comfortable, especially during regular maps, one of the bad things about Soul Rend is its base cast speed is terrible. And currently, to fix that, I was running a Rock Gut plus Blood Rage in order to generate Frenzy charges, which were giving me 12% additional cast speed. And then also the Rock Gut, which would give me permanent, I have it automatically used at the end of the thing, or at the end of the effect, so I would get permanent Onslaught. So I was getting 32% additional cast speed from there. I also had cast speed on my amulet and some from the tree. I had somewhere around 62% cast speed before it finally felt good enough to use. And even then, I would often get scared when I went into the Scourge different dimension, or Krangleverse as people call it sometimes, and I started casting, and I had to start casting as I pressed V and switched over, because the monsters in front of me would just I'd have to make sure that they died right away so I'd have somewhere to run, because being locked in my cast animation, even though it was just like a fraction of a second, was sometimes enough for things to get on top of me, which is, something I wouldn't be used to. One of the reasons I chose Cyclone is I can just continue to hold Cyclone forever, and I'm never going to have downtime with my damage, and I don't mind them being on top of me if I get enough mitigation and tankiness and leech and all that kind of stuff. Sustain, which is what I'm planning on doing here. I'm going to have max block, spell block, suppression, lots of evasion. So yeah, this build is definitely going to be a little bit better, hopefully, for that. But yeah, just the Scourge monsters are so incredibly fast. One of the good things is it's very easy to get a 6-link this league. The Blood Crucible, you can crangle your different things here. Krangle is just terminology people have been using for quite a while based on an old Reddit post, but the idea is that it's like this weird different way to corrupt So yeah, you can, once you have, of course, and I've talked about this in previous video, but which one is it? Stitched Wounds. Once you get Stitched Wounds, you can start generating 6 links pretty easily. That's really nice. You can get Divine Orbs, you can get 6 links to sell. You can take all of your cool armors, like I have a Queen of the Forest that I'm going to try to 6 link using this method. I'm probably going to 5 link it first and then triple corrupt it, hoping that one of the 15% chance procs, which the odds are okay for that to happen, not terrible. And if not, then I just simply use a corrupted fusing orb or whatever. So that's one of the good things. I do think this tree is cool. I think once I do unlock some of these later ones all the way through, like the chance to for transforming to grant an additional beneficial modifier, once I get that to 5%, could make some cool items that way, especially if you get lucky. I don't know if you could potentially get 3 additional beneficial modifiers by doing that. If so, there could potentially be some crazy stuff, but the odds of that happening are very, very low. 1 in 23 different times, so statistically unlikely, but possible. And that's one of the exciting things about this league. So that's like a 1 in 8,000 chance that you could potentially get triple beneficial mods, I think, which is pretty nutty. Regardless of that, the overall impression I have from this league is pretty good. One of the nice things is earlier on leveling. So last league we had a lot of problems in early on leveling defensively. Because of the armor and evasion changes, I find that if I just throw on a couple of armor evasion pieces early on, it's really, really strong. Like the percentage of evasion I was getting with just a gold rim was actually very high, probably for the first act. Just 51 evasion is enough, and I didn't even have this qualityed or anything. In fact, I'm going to do that now for future ones while I talk, but so I don't forget. Yeah, the armor and evasion buffs are a big boon, and I felt safer against things like Hillock, against the charging Roas, all that kind of stuff, because I was mitigating more physical damage, which is a large portion of the damage early on, with the armor that I did have, and the evasion was quite nice as well. So big ups on that, makes the early game defensively a lot easier. That is a big boon for the league. And I also feel like there are a lot of builds that I still want to try, and that's a big benefit as well, because I'm the kind of guy who plays a lot of different builds. I'm not a one build a league type of guy. I'm more of like a 10 to 15 builds per league kind of guy, and there's a lot of cool stuff I want to explore, and a lot of that has to do with the mastery system. There are just a lot of cool things. Like, one of my ideas for this build is I want to stack evasion with block, because block kind of makes up for blind now, blind and dodge. So if you have 75% chance to block attacks plus high evasion, you're probably roughly in the same boat as you were before with like medium evasion, like 8,000 evasion, plus dodge plus, and I wouldn't even say that's medium, it's kind of low, but it's, you know, if you don't invest too strongly in it, that would be a fine amount to have, plus dodge plus blind. Now you can have just block, and it kind of mitigates the whole entropy thing, because one of the issues with the entropy system, and if you don't know, entropy basically means evasion has an entropy system built in, so it's kind of guaranteed that you'll be hit after so many hits. So if you have a 75% chance to evade, you'll be hit exactly 1 in every 4 attacks. The great thing about dodge and blind is they would break that up using an RNG mechanic. Well, block kind of fills the same kind of role. So now, if you'll get hit, if you have 75% chance to evade, you'll get hit 1 out of every 4 times, except you'll be blocking another 75% of those attacks. So that's going to break it up very nicely. Plus, it's a lot easier to hit 75% chance to evade, and possibly higher. So you can get to that point, add block in, and luckily there's a lot of good block if you're dual wielding stuff on the tree, so you get that going for you as well. So big ups there as well. So there's a lot of cool, interesting stuff. Another thing about this build is there's a lot more melee strike range. This gives 3 now, Master of the Arena. There are a lot of various things. You can get 1 here and 3 here. A lot of the masteries have strike range. Melee or sword mastery has it. Attack mastery has it. And the great thing about that with Cyclone is that Cyclone actually gives you 8% AoE per strike range. So once we get up to higher amounts of stages, it can go up to 5 or 6. Once we get to higher amounts of stages, we're going to start having very high amounts of AoE once I scale some of that strike range. So that'll be great, and I'll get to move really fast because of Queen of the Forest as well. But yeah, there are so many exciting builds I want to try. I want to try a non-crit lightning build so I can use the lightning damage with non-critical strikes is lucky, which is effectively a more multiplier. I don't know exactly how much more of a more multiplier it would end up being. I am not that good with the math, and I've been messing up a lot of math in my videos, so I'm not going to try to do it in my head because I'll get called out. But if you do know, let me know in the description how much of a more multiplier. But I figure that way I can get a small amount of critical strike chance, like maybe if I just path through a couple of spell crit nodes to travel up here, and then pick up the new elemental overload and get another more multiplier that way. And I think that's a pretty cool idea. It allows me to basically kind of make up for the fact that I'm not going crit and possibly save me a lot of points doing it that way. So yeah, I think that's a build I'm excited to do. I still want to do an Ignite build really bad, whether that be an Elementalist or a Chieftain. I want to try a Ballista build because I have not done a Ballista build at all, ever yet. At least not one that I can remember off the top of my head. And I've been wanting to do one for leagues now, but I just keep getting overwhelmed with my other ideas. So the skill tree for this update has been amazing. It's really fun to look at, really fun to go through all the different masteries and try to plot out something broken. It's like, oh, I can get, you know, a whole lot of I can get 45% attack damage just for having max block by having this mastery. That's cool. Or I can get life and mana gained when blocked. I can kind of plan around that. That's kind of neat as well. I also like the new position of a lot of the keystones, and some of the new keystones, like Versatile Combatant, I might end up using. Even though I plan on getting 100% spell suppression, it seems like the monsters in the new content, the Scourge content, primarily do a lot of spell damage. If that becomes an issue, I get 100% spell suppression. That's 50% less damage taken from spells. Then I get 50% spell block. That's another 50% less damage taken from spells. So I am taking 75%, I think the math holds up on that, less spell damage overall, which would be great for things like Cirrus as well. So lots of cool stuff in regards to that as well. And, you know, things like Wind Dancer are going to protect me against one-shots from bosses that do attacks on top of that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, just all sorts of fun masteries. The skill tree is great. The new league's kind of fun, but has some kind of downsides that, you know, as far as the rewards not feeling great. Yeah, you get a lot of 6 links, but honestly, we're probably not going to see a lot of GG items even from our tier 3 corrupts, because like a certain portion of the tier 3 corrupts just flat out burn your item. They just flat out make the item practically unusable, and that's a big problem. It makes it feel not super worth to always utilize your Crucible outside of doing it for maps, which I've done some of the maps and just like tier 5 ones that I threw in. And honestly, I do think those are really good and actually very rewarding. You can get things like scarabs and influenced items through that. I got a really nice pair of well, not really nice, but at the time I got them, they were pretty nice. Bleeds you inflict deal damage faster that I can just craft movement speed on, that also have, you know, life and resistance. an energy shield cooldown rate, which I don't think will be super relevant for whatever build I play. I don't think there are a lot of build bleeds doing ES, but yeah, I picked this up. Plus, I got some other random influence stuff that I might want to craft on. And once you start doing that in red maps, you get high level influence stuff. It'll be a lot easier to get that kind of thing if you get a build that can do these scourged maps. Some of the scourged maps I made seemed kind of hard to actually do. Let's see if I can find any here. I might have accidentally stashed, or I might have used them all already. I don't know if I actually have them. Currently I'm not that far into mapping, but yeah, I don't know. I might not have any that I've currently done. Oh, there you go. So this one is giving me an additional enchanted item, which is kind of cool. And then take physical damage equal to 0.2% of life plus 0.2% of energy shield per second per 1% blood in the blood crucible when you're able to shift into nightmare. That could probably kill me on my occultist since I don't really have any physical damage mitigation, but I'm pretty sure you can just shift into nightmare and make it stop, so you just have to do it whenever the bar was half full right away. So I don't think that's a huge deal. So this is probably pretty runnable, but some of the things you get are just nutty. Like you can get monsters take less damage, and that can stack. I saw a guy on Reddit post one that had monsters take 105% less damage, which means they don't take damage. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So yeah. And I don't remember following up to do that, but yeah, some of them just have annoying mods. Like this one has players have 20% reduced movement speed while in the nightmare. And monsters in nightmare deal 20% more damage. Well, you already get a more damage multiplier from the actual thing, so that's gonna be multiplicative. You're probably gonna die at like 50% Scourge corruption or something like that for your stacks. So there's a lot of scary stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to talk about the armor stuff and just how fast the Scourge mobs are mostly, but those are kind of my impressions after like 3 days of playing now. Hope you enjoyed. This has been Ryan from Behind Eyes Gaming, and I will see you next time. Bye.